So Apple surprised everyone with the announcement of a brand new iPhone, but it may not be the spectacle that you think it is. Let's talk about it. So Apple announced the brand new iPhone 16e, which is their budget model phone for the iPhone 16 line, and this edition drops more than just the letter S from the original budget name. Now, the new iPhone will be basically more so comparable to the base model iPhone 16 and not so much comparable to the 16 Pro and Pro Max. So, I'll mostly talk about the differences between the 16e and the base model iPhone 16 in this video. Now, both the base model iPhone 16 and the new iPhone 16e will have a 6.1-inch Super Retina display, as well as any Apple Intelligence that comes out in the near future, next couple months, next couple of years, which is going to be the same for all iPhone and iPad models going forward anyway, and Mac as well. You'll get all the Apple Intelligence features. Now, the base model iPhone 16 has the aluminum color infused glass back, which is going to basically be with those different color options, like the teal and the pink one, for example. Whereas the 16e will only have the standard aluminum back, so no fun colors for the 16e budget phone. You're limited to white or black. And just like the iPhone 16, you will also have the action button on the left side of your phone, which you either will love it or hate it. You might use it for your silent versus ringer option. I use it to turn my flashlight on and off. If you're a Tesla owner, you can use it to turn on your Tesla, which is pretty cool. I wish my car did that, but it doesn't. Now, with both iPhone 16 and 16e, you will have the A18 chip as well as a 6-core CPU performance. However, the 16e will have a 4-core GPU, whereas the base model 16 has a 5-core GPU. So you are losing 1-core GPU for the 16e. I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. If you're someone who knows about that stuff, you might know better than I would, but I don't know. I just know it's one less. Aside from that, you are losing one major feature, which is the camera control button. That's right, the 16e does not have camera control. You know, the new button that was introduced for the iPhone 16 line, their biggest new feature, and might be introduced in new iPads going forward. Yeah, the 16e will not have camera control. Now, I personally don't use camera control for everything I do with photography and video. I mostly use it for my zoom in and out when I want to get that perfect shot. I do want to try to use it for the other features like different styles, for example, different tools in my camera that I can get better shots, different creation options, different ideas that I want to run with. So I will be trying to use them over time. But if you do get an iPhone 16e, you will not have camera control, which is a loss in my opinion. Now, the base model iPhone 16 does have that dual camera setup in the back, and the 16e will only have one camera lens, but it is listed as a 2-in-1 camera system with a maximum of 48 megapixels for your camera, for your photos, which is about the same for the iPhone across the board. Now, the 16e will also have the portrait mode with depth control, but that is nothing compared to the base model iPhone 16 that has the next generation portraits with focus and depth control. So you do have some options for portrait on the 16e, but not as much as you would on the base model 16. The 16e also does not have the macro photography option, so if that's something you were looking to do with your phone and you get the 16e, you cannot take macro shots. The 16e also will not have the option to make spatial audio or spatial photos, but that's really just a gimmick for the Apple Vision Pro. Who honestly has an Apple Vision Pro out there? I don't think many people do. So no need to worry about that in my opinion. Now, the 16e also will not have the dynamic island, which whether you love it or hate it, I use it for some things. It gives me my battery power percentage when I have my AirPods connected, even though I also have a widget for that. It will sometimes show GPS directions on the top of my phone when I'm not in the map screen, so that's pretty cool. But sometimes I might want to do something different, like tap the top of my phone to scroll my text page back up to the top, but instead it will take me back to the other app that's playing media. So it can be annoying at times, but if you're someone who doesn't care about Digital Island, the 16e will not have that, and there you go right there. You can get rid of the dynamic island, excuse me, not digital island, the dynamic island. But if you're someone who wants to try it, who thinks it's really cool, you might want to consider the base model iPhone 16. Now, one positive that the 16e claims to have over the iPhone 16 is some improvements to battery life and performance, primarily when it comes to video playback. The iPhone 16e will support up to 25 hours of video playback, whereas the iPhone 16, the base model, has about 22 hours of video playback. So you get that little bit of a jump right there on the budget model. Now, one of the biggest losses, or maybe two biggest losses in the 16E is number one, you no longer get MagSafe charging on the back of the iPhone 16E, no MagSafe compatibility. What that means is if you're someone like me who is deep into the MagSafe ecosystem and you want to use these accessories for a new model, you cannot use them for a new model. I have my phone cases are MagSafe. I have MagSafe chargers at home. I have a MagSafe charging stand in my car. I have a pop socket that's MagSafe. I have tripod mounts that are MagSafe. I use MagSafe for a lot of different things. So if you're someone like me who is in that ecosystem, you cannot use MagSafe for the 16E, and that's a bummer. We've had MagSafe in the iPhone since I think the iPhone 12, and that's really disappointing. Now, it does support wireless charging as opposed to MagSafe charging, but here's another big loss in my opinion. The 16E will max out the wireless charging, the QI wireless charging, at 7.5 watts. Now, the reason why that's a big loss is because the iPhone 16, the base model, as well as the Pro models, have a maximum of 25 watts of wireless charging when you have it connected to a 30 watt or higher power brick. Let me repeat that for you. The iPhone 16e has 7.5 watts of wireless charging, whereas the base model iPhone 16 has 25 watts of wireless charging. So if you round it up to the nearest number, we're talking about 4 times slower on the 16e for wireless charging than it is for the 16 base model. And that is bizarre. That's freaking insane in my opinion. And when it comes to pricing, the 16e will of course be cheaper than the base model iPhone 16, about a $200 difference, and both models do come in either a 128GB, a 256GB, and a 512GB, but I don't think the difference in cost is enough for someone to justify getting a 16e rather than getting a iPhone 16 base model. The 16e will start at $599, which is the same price for a M4 Mac Mini, just saying. And the base model iPhone 16 will start at, I believe, $799. But when you look at the difference of the two prices, you are saving $200 with the budget model 16e, but you're losing so many features for the phone if you get the cheaper option. And there's more features that you're losing out on that I didn't talk about in terms of the camera and video content creating. There are differences with the optical zoom, for example. You only get 1 and 2 times optical zoom on the 16e. The base model 16 does have the 0.5 option as well. As I mentioned earlier, the macro photography. You are going to get 4K 60 frames for video recording, but of course you won't get ProRes recording like you do on the Pro models. But there are certain things that the 16 will do for video and photo creation that the 16e does not do. Also, the loss of the MagSafe capabilities and the drastic decrease of the wireless charging speed, to me, is not enough to justify a price tag of $599. I think if they had placed the 16e starting at $499, which is also considering past budget models, the SE phones had price range around $350, $359.99, around that range. I think $499 for the Apple Intelligence and the other new improvements of software would justify the price tag. But again, you're still losing out on so many key features like camera control, macro photography, improved wireless charging speeds, MagSafe charging. I feel personally that this may be a specific item for certain people, of course, but you're better off just paying the extra $200 for the base model iPhone 16. Now, when it comes to certain people who might want to use this item, this budget phone, you might have an elderly person, a grandparent, who they're going to get an iPhone for FaceTime with their grandkids. You might have a teenager in high school or middle school. You want them to have their first phone for emergencies when they're going to and from school. Back in my day, my phone options were flip phones and those little wannabe Blackberries. We didn't have iPhones at the time when I was in high school. It wasn't until like the very end of my high school days when the first iPhone came out. So I understand you want to get a new iPhone for your kid to go to school and have for emergencies, but I'm pretty sure most carriers like Verizon, for example, will give you a base model iPhone 16 if you open a new line, which you're going to need to for your kid anyway. So you're better off doing that or going to Spectrum and paying a very small amount for a new iPhone and a data plan. I pay a total of $50 for my iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is 512 gigabytes, and my 5G unlimited data plan. So Just saying, you're better off doing that rather than buy the iPhone 16e. And even if you are in the category of someone wanting to get the phone for your teenager, or you want to get it for a grandparent to do FaceTime with their grandkids, you're just better off paying the extra $200 for the iPhone 16 base model. Maybe not the grandparents so much, because they're not going to care about the photography and the video and the camera control. If it's a grandparent, sure, 16e is fine. But if it's a teenager, don't get them a 16e. Don't let them be made fun of in school, because I'm sure bullying still exists in school. I graduated high school over 10 years ago. So you don't want your kid to be bullied for having a cheap, crappy iPhone. You want them to have a really good one that you can afford. So I just don't understand what they're trying to do with the 16e, what they're aiming for, who they're aiming it at, what is their target audience. But I just don't think it's a good product that they're making, that they're releasing. Pre-orders, I believe, are opening on the 21st of February. And in typical Apple fashion, it'll probably release within the next week or two after pre-order dates. So they may not get a lot of pre-orders for this. They might get a lot of pre-orders, but I highly doubt it. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that's my video for today. So let me go... But that's my video for today. So let me know in the comments what you think about the iPhone 16e. Do you think it's a good idea for some people? Do you think it's the worst idea for anyone who wants to buy an iPhone? Do you think Apple is just crazy right now? Let me know down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.